Shoutouts this week to Sarah from Pittsburgh, Justin from Portland, Oregon, and Rosie from Los Angeles. Here's a little update on the podcast. We're going to be exploring some new ways to get you involved in the podcast. All you need to do is have questions worth exploring. I'll be glad to give you more details if this sounds interesting to you. Just send me an email offline at tim@shapingopinion.com. And whether you want to be on the podcast or not, we always love to hear from you and what's on your mind. You can get in touch with us on Twitter or Instagram at Shaping Opinion. If you want, we can give you a shout out. And thank you for being a listener of the Shaping Opinion podcast. You're the reason we do this. This is Shaping Opinion, a production of O'Brien Communications. Susan, in the course of your daily routine, where do you find yourself singing most often?
Oh my goodness. In my daily routine, well, my daily routine is pretty much singing all day long because I work with choirs all the time. So I am singing as in rehearsal, of course, but I do some singing in the car, a little bit of singing, not so much in the shower, probably in the car.
Has anyone ever caught you singing while you're singing in the car?
Unfortunately, yes, that has happened, particularly on the highway. If I'm really singing like crazy and a car goes by, every now and then I'll get a look from somebody because they'll think I'm, a little crazy.
I'm Tim O'Brien. In this episode of the Shaping Opinion podcast, we're joined by Susan Medley. She's the music director of the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale. The premise of our podcast is simple. We talk about people, events, and things that have shaped the way we think. Today we're going to talk about something that a recent survey found, that 1 in 6 Americans sing in community choirs, and it's good for their health. According to an organization called Chorus America, singing is good for you. It's good for your health, both mentally and physically. That's right. When you find yourself singing in the shower or in your car at that red light, as the person in the car next to you watches, you're doing something good for yourself. And while it may not come as a surprise to you that participation in church choirs may be on the decline, overall, more people are participating in community choirs. More than 17% of American adults participate in some sort of choir. This is an increase from 14% in 2008. That means that 1 in 6 American adults not only likes to sing, but they've done something about it. They joined a choir. Susan Medley is the music director at the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale, and she's a professor of music at Washington Jefferson College.
Well, there are a lot of different reasons that people do it. Most of the people who come to audition have had a good choral experience in the past, and singing has been a part of their life, and they're missing that. Some of them are younger people who maybe are a couple years out of college, and they sang in college, and they want to experience that again. Some are people who are maybe in a church choir and want something a little more challenging and want to do that. And other people have had music in their life. They're looking to continue that. Maybe for sometimes we get retirees. They have the time to devote to it now, and they really want to do that. And other people are just kind of looking to have a new experience and meet some people.
You have auditions, don't you, for the choir? Not anybody can join the choir. How do you do how does someone make the choir?
Well, they audition for me, and I always ask that they bring a song to sing. It can be anything that it can be a choral piece that they've sung. It can be a hymn. They can sing the national anthem. They can sing Happy Birthday if they want to, just so I get a sense of kind of what their voice sounds like. And then I check their range to find out what would be the voice part that would be, the most natural part of their range, where their voices are most comfortable. Then I have them do I play a pattern on the piano, or I'll sing it to them and I'll have them sing it back just to make sure that they can match pitch and hear things well. Then do a little sight reading. And if they do all of that fairly well, and I can tell that they have a good voice that will fit into a choir well, then, they can sing, they make it, yes. And people who don't make it, it's unusual that I don't take someone, but I mean, certainly people who just have trouble matching pitch, that you can't have that in a choir. And there are times where, sad to say, singers that are getting into more their senior years, unfortunately, the voice does reach a point where it just, it's a lot more difficult to control things like vibrato and the tone quality and that sort of thing. But we have singers that will retire from the chorale and then be a part of it in some other way. They'll volunteer in the front of the house selling tickets, or they're still a part of the chorale family, but they're just helping us in different ways.
When you have to give them the bad news, how do they usually take it?
That's one of the most difficult parts of my job, because, to be honest, many of them realize it. And if they're good musicians, they can hear it in their own voice, and they will, they'll come to it on their own. But when I do the auditions, I always give every singer feedback. And when I hear a voice that's starting to get to the point where maybe they're getting close, I will say to them, I'm hearing such and such in your voice, whether it's excess vibrato or some strain or something. And I'll give them the option. I'll say, I suggest that you work with a voice teacher, and you can still sing in the chorale this year, but work with a voice teacher this year. And then, when we re-audition next year, we'll see how these things have been addressed. Or I might say to them, I suggest that you take a year off and work with a voice teacher, and then if you want to audition next year, you can. I've actually had a couple instances where I could tell when they auditioned there were some vocal problems, not necessarily an age thing, but they had significant vocal issues, and I suggested to them that they go to the voice center and work with a specialist. And they'd come back to me and say, they didn't realize they had, in some cases, it was acid reflux that was really doing damage to their vocal cords. Or so they caught some things that way that had they not been singing, they might not have caught in other ways.
Well, that's interesting. And that actually brings me to one of the questions. In the introductory comments that I made for this episode, I talked about the survey that was done that talked about singing being good for your health, mentally and physically. And I did want to ask you about that. How have you seen that? How have you seen people in your organization, the singers, how have you seen them benefit from it?
Oh, I think singing has tremendous benefits for health. We had a singer not too long ago who had some issues with, she had a collapsed lung, and really was having some vocal issues after that, and kept singing through it. And her doctor said that her singing is really kind of what helped to heal those lung issues. So there's that benefit. But then there's also the benefit of coming together as a group of people and working toward a common good. You can't underestimate how much that means to people and the purpose that it gives in their life. I mean, we have people who maybe this is their only social outlet. And they really, the choir fulfills that in their life that nothing else does. And I really think that has long-term health benefits in addition to just making your life happier. But I do think that has long-term health benefits. There have been lots of studies done about singing and particularly the vocal mechanism and breathing, and you have to breathe deeper when you sing and all of the benefits that has. But there have actually been studies done that have shown that when people sing together, their heart rate syncs up. And it's the power of music is really extraordinary. And I think that it does have really significant long-term benefits to people who do join a choir and sing.
And it's not just the people that sing, the people that listen to it, obviously. There's an old saying, music soothes the savage beast. It soothes people and it exhilarates people. It just has an emotional connection with people. So it helps the audiences too.
It does, yes. We have very faithful audience members that love to come hear us for that very reason, because the singers say no matter what kind of day they've had, even if they think at night, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to that rehearsal, then they come and they feel so much better. And we hope that the same is true for our audiences, that we're really communicating the joy of music and that they're enjoying what we are doing and we're all experiencing it together.
Who are your audiences?
Well, the audience is an interesting mix of people, obviously family members and friends of the singers. But we also have a lot of people in the area who are really music aficionados, and they enjoy music and they come because they enjoy the experience of choral music. Some of them are there specifically because of whatever our programming is for that particular concert. When we've done a number of concerts with a big band, and so we advertise in specialized places. There's a big band radio show here, so I always go on there and talk about it, and it draws in people who like to hear that particular kind of music. But our hope is that once they hear what we're doing and they become acquainted with the choir, then they do come back. And we've had a lot of audience members say, I didn't know about you guys, but I heard about you at, on the radio or whatever, and I really enjoyed this and I'm going to come back.
Well, you build a community. I had the chance to see one of your rehearsals, mm-hmm. and I've also read about the chorale, and I know that there is this community. There's mm-hmm. a whole community of singers in not only in Pittsburgh but nationally, and that you do travel. But I also know that, and you had mentioned it's a social thing, but the Chorus America organization, Liza Beth of that organization, she said this: increasingly, people are thinking about constructive ways to bridge some of the gaps between people. And they're looking at issues that exist in societies today. And then she asked the question, how can this art form contribute to a healthy aging? And she told that to the Post-Gazette. And I'm wondering there, too, because you kind of mentioned aging as an issue. What are the demographics of your members? Are there that many people who might be getting into retirement years, and does it help them with aging?
Oh, it absolutely does. A community choir is always a really fun thing to be a part of because there is such a wide range of people in the choir. I mean, in the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale, we have, I think my youngest singer is 23 years old. So we have people that just graduated from college last spring. Our oldest singer, I believe, is 83. So you have a range of 60 years there and different experiences and different backgrounds. And it's so wonderful to bring these people together. And you really can see just the dynamics between the different age groups. And, of course, the young people hang out together. But then you see socially what happens, and you see that groups start to go out after rehearsals, and it's not all one age or all one demographic, but they go out and they just kind of enjoy being together and learning about each other, and they'll go out for a drink or for dinner or whatever, and it just does. There's something about being in a group like that where everybody's working toward the same thing, that they do become just like a big family. And no matter, of course, they have different backgrounds, they have different levels of education, they different professions, different political views, but they just kind of leave that at the door and come in and work together. And there's so much negativity that goes on in their daily lives and just in the world in general. But making music is a way that you can just kind of escape all of that.
One of the things I noticed when I watched your group rehearse was the discipline that you practice. I mean, it sounds like fun, and it is fun. I could see the people laughing, and there is a lot of levity in your rehearsals, but there's also work, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Yeah, but when it comes to singing, the group is very serious about that. And I saw something that you said to the Post-Gazette, and it was this. You said, they're a great group. If I asked them to sing on their head, they would. Choir singing is a unique tradition that gives people a place to belong, and you don't need training, you said, and it's just about making something positive and beautiful with friends, and they also make friends. So can you address that, the discipline and the work? Because people, obviously, they're not just there singing. They're trying to be good at something.
Well, I think the choir has so much fun together, but they also want to be as good as they can be. They want to make music at a very high level. I mean, nobody gets up in the morning and says, let's be mediocre. They all want to be very good at that, as good as they can be. And I think in general, when you come together with a group of people like that, they can see the results in every rehearsal. I mean, I hope you heard a difference from when we started on a song until we, got to the end of it in that particular rehearsal. But they can see the progress, and they realize that when we walk out on stage to give a performance, they've put in a lot of work and it has gotten better, and they're performing at a really high level. And the trick of doing that, and that's, part of what the conductor's job is to make it fun. So they don't realize how much they're learning, even though it's getting better and better and it is enjoyable for them. But I think just being a part of something positive like that, it's affirming, and it makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you feel good about the whole group. And it's just something that, people want to be a part of.
Well, two words come to mind when you say that. One is confidence. It gives people confidence
Absolutely.
that they take with them when they leave. You say they leave certain things at the door, but when they leave, they take improved confidence with them, but also pride. There's a pride in it.
Absolutely, yes.
How would you describe the esprit de corps of the group?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a very positive group. And of course, I see that from our weekly rehearsals, and I see that kind of camaraderie that builds in the group. But I also see it, you really learn a lot about people when you go on tour with them, when you're together kind of 24/7. And it was so interesting when we went to Italy a couple years ago, and we sang in Rome and Florence, Ravenna, Venice. It was a wonderful tour. But some of the people didn't really know each other all that well, because they kind of know the people in their own section that they sit near in rehearsal, but they didn't know each other all that well before we went to Italy. And to see the kind of bonding that took place when we were in these extraordinary sites, singing in these amazing cathedrals, and to experience that together, and they just got a chance to get to know each other better, and it paid off huge dividends then the following season, because they knew each other. It was a whole different thing, because they get together now socially on their own. And that was happening somewhat out of regular rehearsals. But when you work really closely like that on a tour, it happens even more. And I really enjoy seeing, we have a lot of young people that audition for the group that maybe are new to Pittsburgh. They've moved in from out of town. And so they want to be a part of a choir, and they come as a way to satisfy that musical part of themselves, but also to meet people. And what I love seeing is not only are they with people and meeting people in the choir, but then I'll see on Facebook where a bunch of them went out and, went to a musical here in Pittsburgh. So you see that they're doing things socially, that the chorale has impacted their lives, not just on their singing once a week together, but it's really, they've become part of something, and it's been a real social network for them.
Well, you see it from all sides, because you not only are the music director of this chorale, but you also have a full-time job at a local college in Pittsburgh, but not just a local college. It's Washington Jefferson College. Can you describe your job there and the differences between the groups that you coach and teach there versus the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale?
Well, a college environment is very different from a community choir, but some of those same elements are there. I mean, I have two groups at Washington Jefferson College. One is a non-audition group, so anybody in the college can belong to it. So you get kids from I call them kids. I mean, they're young men and women, but, when you reach my age, they're all kids. But for these young men and women from across the campus, all different kinds of majors. But they're coming into the choir, and if they join their freshman year, they instantly have a place to belong. I mean, going to college is a scary thing, and they go off by themselves, and am I going to make friends? You get into a choir, instantly you have a family and a group that you're doing something together. So there's that sort of thing. And we're working a lot in that group on vocal development, vocal training. That's not unlike what I do with the community choir. And then I have an audition group at Washington Jefferson as well, the Camerata Singers. And they are, a lot of those students are taking voice lessons and that sort of thing. So we're making music at a high level. But yes, I can, because we have attendance requirements there and grading and that sort of thing. But the students are there because they want to be. And one of the things that I have found really, really gratifying is, a lot of the students that are in the choral program at W&J are not music majors. I mean, even in the audition choir, we have some music majors in that group, but other majors as well. they go off, they graduate, and they get jobs in their chosen fields, but they feel that music lacking in their lives. And the ones, many of them that are staying in the Pittsburgh area are then coming to sing in the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale, which is fabulous because I know that music in college, that experience they had, was really special to them and part of who they were, and they're seeking out the opportunities to do it again. And not just in Pittsburgh. I mean, I have a former student who left the Pittsburgh area. She's living in Milwaukee now. She's singing in the Milwaukee Symphony Chorus, and she's always posting on Facebook, we're doing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony this weekend. And, at Christmas time, we're doing Messiah. And I'm so thrilled that she is continuing to make music at that kind of level. So it's really, the college and the community choir are different, but a lot of the principles are the same, and a lot of the benefits that they get from singing and the camaraderie and the sort of family kind of atmosphere are very similar.
Well, I didn't want to finish this interview without asking you about how music has benefited you and your path. So let's talk about Susan Medley, and what a great name for this life that you've chosen.
Didn't that work out well? Yes, it really did. And it really is my last name. Yeah.
So where did your interest start with music?
I started, at least my parents are telling me, that I started playing Christmas carols with one finger on the piano when I was 2 years old. And by the time I was 5 years old, I was adding chords to it. And so they thought, we better get this kid some piano lessons. So I started piano at the age of 5. And I almost feel like I didn't choose music. Music chose me. It was such an important part of my life all the way through. And through high school, I was the accompanist for my high school choir. Then I went on and majored in music education because I just couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. And after I graduated, then I got a job teaching K through 12 vocal music and general music. Did that for a while, and then decided to go on. I did a master's in accompanying because as a pianist, I love to accompany. But really found myself loving when I was working with choirs. I was an adjunct at a college in Canton, Ohio, Malone University, and I was working with the women's choir there, and just really developed a love for choral conducting even more, and then decided to go on and do the doctorate in choral music. And I actually worked at Carnegie Hall in New York City for a while and was doing more. I was the associate director of education there, was doing a lot of music administration kinds of things, which is great, and I enjoyed that. But had the opportunity to start the Carnegie Hall High School Choral Festivals there and was the conductor for that. And it was just so clear to me, I really loved making music and giving the opportunity to young people to sing on that stage at Carnegie Hall. I mean, that was wonderful. And the other parts of music administration, it was okay, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I thought, okay, I've got to go get a college teaching position, and ended up here in Pittsburgh, and then got the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale. And so the rest is history. I mean, that was sort of my trajectory. Started out as a pianist, but always knew that teaching was something I loved to do. And it's because as a solo performer, you're practicing by yourself all the time, and you share music with audiences. But as a conductor, you can stand and conduct in front of a mirror and it looks pretty ridiculous. You have to have other people to make music with. And that's what I love so much, is sharing that with other people and drawing that music out, and then getting to share that together with audiences.
Well, I know you said the piano is your first love, but how are you as a singer?
I'm okay. I had a voice minor in college. And of course, as a choral conductor, you need to know a lot about the voice. And certainly as an accompanist, I played for countless voice students and sat through many, many voice lessons. And I've studied voice myself a little bit, but I sing in rehearsal, but I never actually really sing in public.
It's funny because I do media training. It's interesting, though, because you train people, and you know this from a teaching point of view. Oftentimes I train people who are better at it than I would be, but you're coaching them. And that's
Right.
my job isn't necessarily to be better than the people that I'm coaching. It's for them to be the best they can be.
Exactly.
And how would you describe that from your standpoint?
I think that's why it's so important to me as a choral conductor to have a good knowledge of how the voice works. Like you said, I'm working with singers all the time who have much better singing voices than I do. But I can hear something in the voice that I know that maybe if they lift the soft palate a little bit or change the shape of the vowel a little bit, it would make it, it would give them more resonance or something like that. So I can hear technically what they need to be able to do to change things. Certainly that way in working with a choir and having that knowledge of diction, if you're singing in German, if you're singing in French, that sort of thing. And so that's why I have to be prepared technically to know all these things, even though maybe I can't do them myself as well. But it's, that's another thing that's on the choral conductor. You never can know too much about the voice. You just have to, the more you know, the more effective you are.
Well, one of the things that I did notice, you're not only the director of music, but you're the director of fun. When you stand on that platform that the conductor stands on and you have all those players in front of you, it's also like a stand-up comedian looking at an audience, isn't it?
I've actually been told that, if that music thing never worked out, I could have done that, but I don't know. It is, well, part of that is keeping the singers engaged because this is a volunteer choir. Community choirs are volunteers. And, you volunteer, you show your level of appreciation with your feet. I mean, if it's not enjoyable for the singers, they're not going to come. I mean, yes, the music is what they're there for, and that's what we're all about. But I think we've all had experiences where we've worked with conductors who connected with us better than others. And I just try to keep it always moving forward and always try to do things in a positive way. Even when I correct them, I try to do it in a more of a joking way, but they do get the point. So, positivity is kind of the key to success, I think.
What about the public's appreciation for this and awareness of it? Is it increasing or is it waning? How would you describe it?
I would like to think that it is increasing. I mean, definitely participation in choirs across the country is increasing. That is, and I see that with my community choir. Auditions are up. I'm auditioning more and more people every year. I would like to say that the public's appreciation of choral music is going up. I don't know. I mean, I think it's challenging for a lot of nonprofit organizations to get audiences and to reach out to audiences. And that's one of the things that we're always thinking about is reaching out to new audiences. With the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale, we started a Festival of Choirs 8 years ago for high school choirs. And we hold it at Carnegie Music Hall here in Pittsburgh, which kind of looks like Carnegie Hall in New York, only it's shrunk down. It's a little bit smaller. It's still a gorgeous hall. It seats 2,000 people. And the acoustics are really wonderful. And to offer these high school students the opportunity to sing in a venue like that, it's an extraordinary experience for them. But then we also do several pieces and they sing for each other. They all get to hear the choirs. And that's a big deal because a lot of choral events, the choirs come in and they're maybe adjudicated, but they don't necessarily get to hear each other. So they get to sing for each other. And then we do something where we all sing together. The Pittsburgh Concert Chorale also sings so that these students can see that singing is something you can do your entire life. And then we sing something together and they love doing that. We do 4 movements of the rehearsal you attended, Carmina Burana. We do 4 movements from Carmina Burana with 2 pianos and percussion, and the students love that. We started that for a number of reasons, to give these students these wonderful experiences that they might not have otherwise. Also, their parents come and they get to see this going on in this beautiful hall, and they realize there's choral music going on all over the city. And we hope to raise awareness that way of what is going on. We're trying to reach new audiences. I think we're seeing a lot of choirs that are starting to do music maybe on themes more of social justice to raise awareness about certain things. And another big issue for choirs is diversity, both in attracting singers and in reaching audiences that maybe are not hearing choral music. So I think it's something that we all have a lot of work to do to get out there and to reach some new audiences. But once people hear choirs and realize what good work they're doing, then they tend to be loyal followers.
Well, you mentioned the young people. What do you envision with the next generation? Do you see any trends right now with young people where you might see choral music 10 years from now?
That's a good question. There are certainly shows like The Sing Off and American Idol, and, they're bringing singing to the public. The movie's Pitch Perfect and that sort of thing. That's a whole different style of music, the a cappella wave. Students are fascinated by that. And there are groups like Pentatonics and Straight No Chaser that, people are flocking to their concerts, and it's very, very popular. I think any time people are focused on and interested in singing, I think that's a good thing for choral music, even though the styles may be very, very different. I think high schools are doing a really good job of, I go out to high schools a lot, and I'm so impressed with what is going on in high school classrooms. And students are getting really good choral training in many, many high schools, and they are seeking those opportunities then when they get into colleges. And then the community choirs that can take them after they get out of college and they have that opportunity. My hope is that these younger singers will have a good experience and will seek to continue to do that. I think in a lot of ways, social media has really become a way to promote a lot of choirs. I mean, we do a lot more promotion on social media, certainly, than we ever used to in the past. And I think there are a lot of, by holding different kinds of events. I mean, there are choirs that are holding events in, there's like a beer choir where they go to microbreweries and they sing songs about beer and that sort of thing. And it draws people in. And there are a lot of ways, because of the technological age, where we can reach a lot more people. At the same time, we're also competing against a lot more. So my hope is that choirs continue to grow and continue to involve more and more people, and that younger people are getting a really good foundation in that so that they'll seek it out when they get a little older.
Well, I have one final question. Based on the feedback we get on this podcast, because we do quite a few music episodes of different types of music and different approaches, I'm absolutely sure that there's at least one person listening to this who fashions themselves as a good singer. Their friends, their family tell them, "You're such a good singer." To that person, what would you advise them?
If you like to sing, seek opportunities to do that. If you want to really develop your voice, look for a voice teacher, take some voice lessons and sing. I mean, the most important thing you can do is look for opportunities. In almost any city, there are community choirs that you can become involved in. And when I say community choirs, there are all different types. If you like barbershop music, there are barbershop organizations and Sweet Adelines out there that you can join that. If you enjoy gospel music, there are gospel choirs that you can be a part of. And just look for those opportunities and do it. And I also want to say, I have so many singers who tell me that when they were in third grade, their music teacher told them just mouth the music because you can't sing. Third grade is far too young to make that decision for anybody. I mean, everyone has a voice. And I have encountered very few people in my life who cannot be taught to match pitch. Even if they think they can't, they can do that. So for those of you who were discouraged at a very young age that you shouldn't be singing because you can't match pitch, don't pay any attention to that voice in your head, because 9 times out of 10, even more than that, 99 out of 100, people can sing. And so give it a try, because it is the only instrument that we carry around with us. and everyone can sing. It doesn't require specialized music training. You've got that instrument with you, and if you feel the desire to sing, look for an opportunity to do it because we want to hear your music.
Susan Medley, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
To learn more about Susan Medley, the Pittsburgh Concert Chorale, Washington Jefferson College, and everything that we talked about today, see our show notes at shapingopinion.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please help others find it. Leave a rating and review in Apple Podcasts, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love to hear from you. On Twitter, just tweet to us at Shaping Opinion, or you can get in touch with us through our website, shapingopinion.com. We have a Facebook page, and we're on Instagram at Shaping Opinion. Shaping Opinion is a production of O'Brien Communications. This is where we talk about people, events, and things that have shaped the way we think. Until next time, I'm Tim O'Brien.